Just a second. Okay. In today's session, we would be seeing about Azure OpenAI, wherein we would be seeing how do we build GPT models using Azure OpenAI with the .NET is something that we would be seeing as part of today's session. And before we go into today's session, let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am CR Bhargavi, working as a senior software engineer for Ford, and I'm an MTech graduate from BITS Pilani. And I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and a Microsoft most valuable professional as well. And I do write blogs and articles under C Sharp Corner, for which I had been awarded as C Sharp Corner MVP. And I do uh, answer queries in Microsoft Q&A, for which I have been awarded as Azure Community Champion. And I am a global speaker, wherein I do speak at many communities globally. And this is my LinkedIn ID. Please feel free to get in touch with me post the session if you have any doubts or wanted to connect with me post the session. Okay. With that, the agenda for today's session would be like we would be getting started with Azure OpenAI, and we would also be seeing how do we develop the application with Azure OpenAI and apply the prompt engineering with Azure OpenAI, and how do we bring our own data with Azure OpenAI, and how do we integrate the same inside the .NET is something that we would be seeing for today. And at last I would be taking up the Q&A. So what does Azure OpenAI? Azure OpenAI is like the pre-trained models which are available. Like we have different kind of models which are being there, right? So those models together are will be having a pre-trained model, and you can have the customization capabilities out of it. And you would be having the model specific capabilities which you can do for your model inside the Azure OpenAI. Also, Azure OpenAI is a tool to implement the responsible AI, and it provides the enterprise grade security. How can we say that it provides a enterprise grade security is by the terms that Azure does not use your own data uh, for training the model that what you need for. Like the data that what you are giving in as prompt will not be used for training the model is an assurity that Azure provides you, and because of which it's a enterprise grade security. And what all this Azure OpenAI offer is like, it offers us with the content generation. Content generation here means like when you want to generate some content, say in case like when you have some content to be generated and you are giving in the prompt for it, and it would be generating the whole content for you, then that becomes the content generation. And the second one is like the chatbot and virtual assistant. When you want the Azure OpenAI to be acted like a chatbot or virtual assistant for yourself, then you would be using this Azure OpenAI as chatbot or a virtual assistant. And when you want it to be like a translation moderator, then that acts in as a translator as well. Or when you have big text and you want to summarize it, or when you have to summarize the whole thing, then that's possible too with the help of Azure OpenAI. Or you have a sentiment analysis, and with that sentiment you have to get the feedback, and from which you have to gain the insights, and from which you have to do some task post that, then that's possible too with the help of Azure OpenAI. So what does this we had seen how does the Azure OpenAI, and then what does this Azure OpenAI offer, all those things, and how do we start using it as something that That's a main thing, right? So we have few prerequisite that are being available for Azure OpenAI, for which we have to register it at um a site which has been mentioned here. Like when you go into it, then you would be able to fill in the form, and from that form you can get the instance. I mean, you would have to fill in the form, and once your access is being granted, like it would take more than around 20 to 40 days at a maximum, and you would be granted the access post checking everything, like whether all your details of your official email id and then everything gets matched in over there or not. And once that's all done, then you can get the access of Azure OpenAI. Once you have been granted an access for Azure OpenAI, you can create an instance in Azure. Once you had created an instance in Azure, then you can go inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, and from which you can access the resources which are being provided to you. Like you can develop your own model, or you can do a different kind of things over there. So that's the major thing that what we can do inside the Azure OpenAI. So what we need for now, first thing is like you have to fill in the form and get the Azure OpenAI access, and post that you have to have the instance being created in Azure, for which you have to have the Azure portal access as well. So these two are mandatory, and post that all goes in by step by step. So how do we provision an Azure OpenAI in Azure? Now that you have been granted an access, and you are now trying into create an OpenAI resource in Azure, and for which you would have to have the resource being created in Azure, right? So for which what we would be doing is like it can be done in two ways. One is like the regular way that what we can create a resource in Azure, or by using the CLI. But for which, for whatever things that what you are trying to use, you need a subscription ID, resource group, region, name, pricing tier, and all those things has to be mentioned over there. And then once this all these details are being mentioned, you can go ahead and click on the create, or you can still go ahead and use the Azure CLI and create the resource over there. So this part is like the creating in the regular way of creating a resource, and this part is like the CLI, wherein you would be mentioning the create and everything, like what you have to mention on, and then you would be giving on with the resource group name, and then you would be giving on which region you are trying to access it for, and what kind of resource it is, and the subscription ID that what you have is all about the CLI and Azure OpenAI Studio. So once you have created the Azure OpenAI resource, then you can navigate inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, right? In the in about few minutes of time, we spoke about this. Like we have to have the resource being created, and then from there we can navigate to the Azure OpenAI Studio. Now that we have created and we have navigated to the Azure OpenAI Studio, it's fine at this moment that if you don't understand at any point on how do we create or how do we manage to get inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, it's fine because we would be covering those things in our demo part, and wherein we I would be showing up how do we do those things. So consider for now that we have navigated inside the Azure OpenAI Studio from Azure portal. So what does this Azure OpenAI Studio means is like you have you have a separate web portal which has been available for working inside of Azure OpenAI, and that's something called as the Azure OpenAI Studio, wherein you can work on with different kind of the OpenAI models, and then you can you can view and deploy different kind of the base models which are being available, and you can connect your own database that what you have, or like what we saw, we can create our own models inside it by using the custom models, and then you can test the models that what you have created as well over the Azure OpenAI Studio. So there are two ways to test it. One is by using the chat, and one is by using the completions. Chat is like you would have the chatbot kind of feel when you use the chat, and completions is like you would be having you would be having a line and post that line of prompt and post that the result would be coming in the same page is called as the completions playground. So these are the things that what we would be having inside the Azure OpenAI Studio. So that we have now navigated inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, and we have also started seeing about what are the things that what we can do inside the Azure OpenAI Studio. To play around with the different kind of data, we need model to be created or model to be reused, right? For which we have different kind of the generative AI models which are being available. Right from DALI to GPT-4, we have the different kind of the model along with the version updates that are being available, are being inside the models that are there. Like when you navigate inside the model tab over here under the Azure OpenAI portal, you would be able to see the different kind of the model that are being there along with the version updates. Like if there are any bug or some kind of issues are being reported to that model, you would be receiving a new update to that version in name of version, right? So along with the version are being available over here, and you can create and delete it whenever you need. And like what we saw, we have from GPT-4 to DALI versions being available, wherein GPT-4 is the newest and most capable chat based code generation that has model that has been available, and GPT-3 is a common model that's been like a natural language and the generation models which are been there, and DALI is like a image generation model, and that would be that would be restricted to the fewer regions alone, and still in the preview stage, and you can have it found in fewer restricted regions which are being there. So now that you had chosen a model, and you have decided on which version, and you have also created a model like what you need. So the second step of doing it is like a deploying the model that what you need. So what you would be doing is like you would be deploying a model that what you have created for. Here, you would be selecting the model that what you have created along with the version, along with the deployment name, and you would be clicking on with the create. Once you have clicked on with the create, then it would be creating the whole deployment for your model, and that would be available under the deployments tab over here. So, how do we do that? We can do that inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, or by using the CLI as such. Like It's the same thing over here as well. It's a cognitive services account, and you have to create a deployment over here. And sorry, and for which you have to give the resource group name OpenAI, wherein you would be giving in the resource as well, and then you would be clicking on with the deployment name along with the model name, model version, model format, and everything. And then you would be giving on with the details of the Azure CLI, and will be delivering the models. I mean, you would be deploying the models based on the same. And once you had did that, you need different kind of testing to be done for your prompt, right? For which you would be using the prompts. And that prompt is like the input that what you would be providing into your model, and completion is like the output that what you receive from the model. And classifying content, there can be different kind of task like classifying content, generating new content, and then transformation or translation, summarization, continuation, question answering, chat. There can be of anything that the task can do for. And you can given the prompt based on that way. Say in case like you want to do a translation, and for which you are giving in English like hello, and you expect in French, and the result that comes in as bonjour will be the completion, wherein it would be the output. So this is the way that it would be working on when you are using in the prompts from the model. Now that you have to test in with the model, like the prompts that what you try to give in will be getting in the output, right? You have to check that whether it's working fine or not. What you have to do in that case is like you have to use two different ways like what we saw. It can be of either chat, or it can be either of completions. Completions works very well for the versions of GPT 3 or below, and chat works very well for the versions of GPT 3.5 or above. So you can use in any of the ways. And as we saw, chat is something like a chatbot based kind of feel, and you would be getting the chatbot kind of thing over here. And completions is like when you given when you given the sentence over here or prompt over here, and you would be getting in the results as such at the below. So, what does this prompt engineering? We had been seeing about the prompt, and completions, all those things, right? So, what does this prompt do? Prompt is like a instructing AI models to do something that what we expected to do for. And prompt engineering is all about like it would be playing with different kind of the prompts being involved with it, and it would be having a fruitful result being yielded from the prompt is something that the prompt engineering would be focused of. So it's like how precise your input is will be the precise of your results. It's a directly proportional one, and your prompts can be in terms of text or image or audio or video or anything of that sort. And all that what you given to the model is called as the prompt, and it all deals about those things are called as the prompt engineering. So prompting methods are like you will be giving an instruction. When you given an instruction, then it would be translating from English to German, or it's kind of something of that instruction, then you would be prompting in with that way. Or it can be of completion, wherein when you want the output to be provided by the model, then you would be using in the prompting method of completion. And then question is like when you have a simple questionnaire being available, then you would be giving in the question over there. Or fine tuning is like it's a availability to have the training model with different kind of the data that what you have for, and you can have it for different ways. So that's something that the prompt engineering methods works on, and you would be having the various ways to have these methods being available. And these are some of the use cases that the prompt engineering can focus on. I'm not going inside deep into these. Maybe I would get back once we are done with our part. Like we have two different parts. One is roles in prompt engineering. This part plays a major role in Azure OpenAI when we are creating in our own GPT models inside the Azure OpenAI. So, roles and prompt engineering is something that would be deciding on what does your model want to do on. So, you would be instructing the system to be acting as how does your model want to act on. Assistant would be the model that what you are trying to act on, and user would be the prompt that what you try to give in. Like say in case the consider the same scenario over here, you have a system wherein you are instructing in the model to be acting in as a Shakespearean writing assistant, and you are giving in like what what are the expectation and how does it work, and here are some examples that what you have given to it, such that it would try to understand the examples of it. And whenever you are trying to given the uh, giving the prompt, it would be trying to give you back the result of it. Say in case like you are trying to given the prompt to be like please write a short text by inviting to the dinner is something that what you are trying to give, and the assistant would be giving you back with the response that includes die, and then all those things which are being used by Shakespeare would be used here as well, and it would be added over there. So this is the major thing that plays in when you are trying to build a model for yourself under the Azure OpenAI. So, how do you use when you are using the chat completions inside it, right? So, how do you use? You have role system content being given over there, and when the role is being defined and role, user, content, all those things are being mentioned, then you would be getting the result back saying that this would be the response that what you get for. And these are some things like the conversation history and few short trainings, like how does your conversation history are being stored, and with the help of the conversation history you can build in the model that what you need for, like a few short training. Like few short learning is something like when you given multiple examples, and with that example if it's been getting trained, then that's called as a few short learning. And it's something that when you are training in with the conversation history, then you would get an option for the same. And then chain of thought is like when you ask the model to break it with response and explain its reasoning, then that becomes the chain of thought. Say in case like you are giving in the different kind of ways, and you are ending in with the different kind of ways of answering it, then that becomes the chain of thought. How do we train the model is something that what we would be seeing in as part of the today's demo part, so I'm skipping that theory part in shortage of time. So how does Azure OpenAI, how can we bring in our own data with the help of Azure OpenAI? So how do we do is like we have to set up a data source, and with that data source we have to configure all the different kind of the things, and either it can be stored in blob, or either it can be stored in some excel or different kind of things that what you are getting to try to get the data for. And uh, um, and then you would come and configure the Azure OpenAI, and from there you would be configuring in the resource that what you need for. And post that, if you are done with the configurations and settings part, then you would be choosing in your own data that is being used for grounding, and from that you would be choosing in the various kind of the prompts that what you have been expected for, and you can simplify the AI model which is being limited with your data source. Now that we would be getting back here soon once we are done with the demo part. So, what am I doing here is like we are navigating to the portal of Azure, wherein I have the Azure OpenAI, Azure OpenAI been available already, and I am trying to get back the. I am trying to create a resource over here, and then once we have created, I mean, once we have the access, we would be navigating here, and we would be clicking on with the create of it. And once we are done with that, we would get an option to create it like what we saw there. So we can go ahead and create it. So, or else, like what we saw, we can go ahead and create it under the Azure CLI over here. And when you click on all those things, then you would be clicking on for the next, and your Azure OpenAI gets created. And in matter of time, I had already created a Azure OpenAI service which I am trying to reuse. So I am navigating to the Azure OpenAI which has been available. So once the Azure OpenAI, I mean, we would be navigating to the Azure OpenAI Studio from the Azure portal, and that's where we would be working on for the Azure OpenAI. So, what do we do here? We would be getting the different kind of model is something that what we saw right now, that we have to get our own model being created. S- uh, Created, and that has to be used in .NET, for which what we would be doing is like we would be choosing in the model. Okay, this region does not support the um just a second. Okay, this is how you would be creating in the resource, and once you had created it, ensure that it's been enabled ensure that it's been enabled, and you would be clicking on with the create. The deployment would take around 2 to 3 minutes of time, wherein we would be creating in the deployment over there. Okay, it's still in progress. Yeah, now that the deployment has been created, so we are navigating to the resource. So we have now navigated, and we would be coming over here to the model. Okay, maybe this also doesn't allow us to create the fine tune model, for which either it can be in the state of Canada or East US. So I had tried in for East US, and it is not working. So we can try it for Canada. And I'm not going to repeat the same steps. Like what we can do is like we can have the different kind of the base models which has been available. Like you have the different options over here, right? Like either of the text embedding, or either the ada, or small large text embedding. And then gpt-4 version itself has different kind of the models over here. And then you have gpt 3.5, and gpt 3.5 has different kind of versions inside it. And then DALI. So you can choose a different kind of the model, and once you click on it, then you would be clicking on with the create custom, or you can deploy it. And once you create it, then you would be getting in with the model version of what you have for, and the deployment type to be of standard. And the deployment name can be the name that what you use for. And then your contents can be of anything. And once you give in all the details, then it would be prompting in for creating in the data that what you need for. I'm just navigating to the old one. Just a second. Okay, let it delete, no problem at all. Let me come back to the same studio, such that I would be using the models that what we have already created here as well. Like I have created, once you have created, like when we click on this and when we click on deploy, then we had the option of it, right? So once you had done with those things, then all the models that what you have created will be coming over here under the deployments. Either the model can be chosen over there and deployed over here, or you can create in a new deployment which has been available under here, wherein you can select the different kind of the model over here and do a model version, and then standard type, and you can given the deployment model. um, you can give in the deployment model, or you can have in the various kind of way. And now that it's the same thing that what you saw over the models tab over there, right? So you can create the deployments that what you have for. Once you had created it, all the deployments that what you had made will be appearing here. So when you go inside that model, you can have in whether you can test it in playground, or whether you can test it in whether you can edit it or do any kind of changes that what you have. So it's the two thing that what we would be playing on with, and these are the things that where we would be testing on with our output. Like chat is something that what we saw over there, like it would have the chatbot kind of feel, and we can have the various kind of the chatbot kind of the thing that what we do here. And completions is like the deployment that what we would be doing when we have the different kind of the deployment, then you can go ahead and choose in the deployment, and you can load in the different kind of the examples over here, and that would be giving you back with the result of it. Like it generate an email is something that what we gave for, and this is the prompt that what it can type in for all for us by itself. And when we want to generate it, then that would be generating in the results for you. And inside the chat, it's the same thing that what you would be doing. Like when you want to bring in your own data, this is where we saw, like when you want to bring in your own data, then what you would be doing here is like you would be clicking on with the data, and then you would be clicking on with the data source, and that data source can be of anything. Like either it can be of AI search, or blob storage, or Cosmos, or URL web address, or anything of that sort that works in so well. And or you can still have a files being uploaded wherein which is still in preview stage. And if you have that, then you can have the blob storage being created, and the Azure OpenAI search being created for you, and from there you would have the options being done for you. And I'm not gonna do everything over here, so I'm just going to give in the um, URL over here, and select it. When you don't have, then it would be prompting in to create an Azure OpenAI service over there, and from there you can create in the search, right? So that would be taking you with the step of it. Okay, you have to give in the name, and you would be creating in the Azure search service. And once your search service is being available, next step is like it would be prompting in to create a blob storage for yourself. And once you had created those things, then you would have to give in the URL or any kind of data that what you are trying to use and for. So this is the way that what you can try to add in your own data. And we had saw about three roles that plays a major role here, right? So to get that, I would be choosing in a template such that we can understand how does it works so well. Like we had saw three roles, which is system message, roles, and user, right? Like system message, user, and assistant, right? So these are the different kind of the roles which are being there. So system message is where you would be giving in the prompt that what the model should be acting on. It's the same example where we are seeing it here, and we are giving in the prompt of what we are trying to give it over here. And user is where we are trying to give in the prompt that what we need for. And assistant is where we are trying to get the completions out of it, like this would be the response that what we are trying to give in is the response that what you are trying to give in. And this works so well for this particular type of templates. And if you want to change it for yourself, then what you can do it is like you can delete it and you can add it for your own thing. And you can have it on like you have a option here of add it, right? So you can add in the user and also what should be the kind of reply that your assistant has to give on is something that what you are trying in over here, such that when you type in with the chat over here, then that would be replying you back with the result of it. This is how we can train in the different kind of model that what we have for. Now that you have created the model with the help of Azure OpenAI over here, with the custom models that what we have is being created, and now that you have to have it inside the .NET is something that what we would be seeing, right? So it's so simple. You don't have to strain so much, wherein you have the when you navigate inside the chat or completion itself, you have the option of view code. And from that view code you have Python, C sharp, curl, Java, JavaScript. All these options are being available, and from which when you select on with C sharp, then you would be getting an option of what does the whole code do. Let me go back to the same thing, like what does it do, and try to explain you. Here we have the endpoint and key over here, and all that the endpoint and key has to be given. And what's the use of this endpoint and key is like, uh, say in case the whole thing of why do we need our own model to be created inside the Azure OpenAI when we have different kind of models being available already, is like when you want to customize the model for yourself, such that the other people should not enter inside your model or test your model or do something with your model, and you want to ensure the security is being increased further, then you would be choosing a model which has been done for you, and you can have the various kind of ways that's been available for yourself. And what we would be doing here is like we would be choosing in with the C sharp, and once we had chosen the C sharp, we would be getting an option of how does the response should be like await client get response streaming sync, like it should be of what response that your model has to get on. And then how does your response options should be off, like the output options should be off, like you are providing in the prompts that what you are expecting here. And then you are giving in the temperature, these temperature max tokens, all those things will be available under the parameter. All those things that what you can configure here with the help of the UI are being coded here inside the C sharp, such that you don't have to code much, and you can just copy and paste it and change the name and everything, like just a few things that what you want to change it can be changed. And From those changes you can start coding in, and from that we can go ahead and start using in with the help of the models that what we had built for. So this is the way that what we can do with the help of the Azure OpenAI inside the .NET. Like we can build in our own model with help of the .NET is something that what we sought for today. And I am now open up for any questions that what we have over the past session that what we had. Is there some questions that I can answer on?
Since this is a recording session, you will get questions later.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Bhargavi, for doing this on a weekend. We're extremely grateful to you for all the support extended.
Yeah.
Very, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Rohit.
Thank you.